He was a 30-year-old frontier bishop in the Wild West and died 56 years later as the church's presiding bishop. The church selected the Right Reverend Daniel S. Tuttle to leave New York and go west because he was physically strong and strong-willed. He recruited his brother-in-law, the Reverend George Foote, and another New Yorker, the Reverend Edward Goddard, to establish a church and bring social justice to the unsettled territories of Montana, Idaho, and Utah. Tuttle's stagecoach arrived in Salt Lake City on July 2, 1867, after a couple months crossing the Great Plains. Within a week, he was preaching in the Mormon territory with Foote and Goddard. Foote had already started a school in Salt Lake. It would be the first school in the territory that was open to all children. A half-dozen other Episcopal schools followed. Hundreds of children signed up. Over half were Mormon children. Tuttle would write, "The day schools, especially in Utah, were the backbone of missionary work." The church continued its social justice. Bishop Tuttle established the first hospital in the territory, St. Mark's Hospital. Previously, injured miners had no medical place to go. The Episcopal hospital charged $1 a month and guaranteed care. One injured man paid his dollar and stayed 27 years. The Reverend George Foote also started St. Mark's Cathedral. The cathedral is now Utah's oldest continuously operating church with Sunday services. When it was built, it could hold every Episcopalian in the 3 territories, from Canada to Arizona. Tuttle and his missionary clergy, Goddard and Foote, thought big and went house to house, baptizing, confirming, marrying, and burying. They walked, rode stages, and finally trains. They carried Bibles and enough food to get them from town to town. Because of Tuttle, Foote, and Goddard, thousands of people found social justice and dignity in health care, education, and were accepted as being made in God's image. They were clerics, they were missionaries, they made life better for those in the shadows of social justice 150 years ago and for those in the shadows of social justice today. It is why 150 years later, our DNA is still social justice and mission as we discern what God is up to in Utah and northern Arizona. It all starts in our congregations. For example, St. Francis in San Francisco helping with medical translation for Moab's free clinic. It can be life or death.
Especially when it comes to, like, say, some of our ability to provide services to undocumented workers.
And after-school programs.
If it wasn't for this program, they would probably be wandering on the street, hanging out maybe with older kids who will not be teaching very good things to them.
St. Luke's and St. Elizabeth's and the Arts Kids Project at White Rocks.
Blue and green, purple, red, green.
Youth Impact that grew out of Good Shepherd in Ogden.
We represent the culture that we're growing up in today. We represent the culture, the environment, the people as individuals that we live in today. And I don't know if you're going to find that everywhere you go.
The lunches at Grace and St. George, a scene of meals repeated at another 5 churches. The youth group at San Esteban, and here on a field trip to a TV station. Just a few ministries that grew out of congregations. Yes, our ministries, born in the spirit of 150 years ago. They came out of our love for Jesus, not only who he was, but who he is. And who are we at this 150th year crossroads? The bishop made it very clear. We are all made in God's image to serve all others made in God's image. No exceptions, none.
We will welcome all people. We will not exclude a person because of race, gender, or sexual orientation. We will baptize, confirm, and join in marriage loving couples. Our vestries, bishop committees, councils, committees, and commissions will be open to all of our people. And we do this not as an act of defiance. We do this because it is who we are. We have no second-class citizens or members in our church. And if any person comes to this church who does not agree with this or hold the same convictions, then I say to that person, welcome.
Our ministries are bold. Our bishop is at rallies for Medicaid expansion when not all churches are there. We are at the legislature fighting for poverty issues and for immigration and holding dinners for anti-gun violence advocates in a state where that is not real popular.
So I call for a conversation where people can come together to discuss this.
Yes, we are at the crossroads, at a milestone, and on a journey. Now, how should we serve and where, and how can we be the Jesus people? The bishop selected a task force to look at the present and to look forward. A task force to look at our ministries within our congregations and to look forward from this milestone year. It was to be done with prayer and with service, and it was to bring us together. Well, it has done that. Like at any good event, you need a logo. Few things have been as popular as the banner. Grace, Holy Spirit, St. James, St. Paul's Salt Lake City, St. Paul's Vernal, St. Peter's. And believe me, there are boxes and boxes of more logo stuff arriving every day. But there is also service, and it started with the Super Bowl of Caring, an unbelievable spirit of caring, raising over $46,000, including a $22,000 diocesan match. Congregations picked the food-related charities to share with. St. James and St. Stephen's gave funds to the Granite School Foundation for a food truck.
My name is Miss Andy, and my class has something to say to Episcopal Diocese.
There will be more service projects, well, and all kinds of stuff, because we are 150 years old, and like Bishop Tuttle asked, what do we do now? We are lots of people who are asking the same question, the same prayers, and with the same love of the Lord.